Lovely, thank you.
So, oh, there we go. So I guess the first thing to say is this is going to be quite a short session, giving you an overview of what we do. So we do sort of a longer hour session, hour and a half session for groups. So that could be anything from parish councillors to link workers, voluntary groups, and so on. In this topic. So if you've got any groups or associations that come to mind that might benefit from the longer session, please do get in touch. And I guess the other thing is where you're all parishes, you'll have halls and things. If you've got events coming up when we are opened up again from sort of summer onwards, and you want us to come along, give a talk, or have a stall, giving some energy advice or anything like that, you know, we're willing. If we're free on that day when you're doing stuff, weekends, evenings, whatever, we can do that as well. Hopefully we'll be able to, well, really looking forward to being able to get out and about and see some people. Those of you that are at food banks, we've been giving training to food bank workers, things like the community fridges and so on. You know, we could come along when things open up a bit, set up a stand and give people some energy advice as well. So just kind of get your thinking caps on, rather than just thinking about how you can refer people in. So Cambridgeshire Home Energy Support Services, which is CHESS for short. We were so pleased with ourselves when we came up with that, as you can imagine. Big smiles on our faces. So this is a project that's run jointly and managed jointly by PECS and Cambridgeshire Acre. So as we said before, PECS, an environmental charity, and Cambridgeshire Acre work with parishes. And we're restricted here to sort of the north of Cambridgeshire, although we will and do help people that are in the city of Cambridge and just south of that, if they're kind of on the borders. And the project's funded to run for 2 years by the Energy Redress Scheme, and it's managed by the Energy Saving Trust. And this is the PEC team. So there's me, Laura and Nikki. Myself and Nikki do these training sessions, and we provide home energy advice for clients when we talk to them one-to-one. I've just literally come off a call with a lady. I was on the phone with her for about 45 minutes. She's 75. She lives in a shared ownership bungalow. She's got panel heaters, which are costing her so much money that she can't afford to put them on. So I've given her some advice around getting some insulation in and helping her to get a Green Homes grant to get some to get an air source heat pump in, which won't be in time for this winter, but for next winter she should be warmer and cozier. So all the time it's people that we're hopefully helping to live in a more comfortable life. And then here's Alison and Lisa from Cambridgeshire Acre. And yeah, we just to kind of show you pictures of the team so you know who's behind and working on the project. We've already had conversations prior to this about people that are using food banks, community fridges and so on. This project is about fuel poverty, but I know that all of you here will be aware of the fact that people that are poor are probably struggling with fuel poverty, food poverty. It's just poverty. They can't afford clothes for their kids, they can't afford to put their heating on, and they haven't got food for their plates. So we hope that this project helps fill in some of the pieces there, helping people that are struggling with fuel poverty to be more comfortable in the home. And somebody can be described as being in fuel poverty if they're from a low income household and they can't afford to heat their home and meet their other energy needs. Of course, it's not just about income, so low income will contribute to it, but if people are in poor quality housing, and I'm sure if you're all from quite rural areas, you'll know that a lot of people aren't on the gas grid, and they maybe have oil powered, or if people are in caravans and so on, it's really difficult for people to keep older homes warm, draft proof and so on. And then if we've got people that are older or very young, people that have got health conditions, And people that have got high energy bills, which could be because they're on a high tariff or that they've got arrears. And as I say, going back, the quality of the home might be difficult, so they've got heating on and they're heating the atmosphere through their roof or whatever. These are all factors for fuel poverty. So if somebody's on a low income, house isn't in great condition, their age is against them and their bills are high, they're going to really be struggling. And you can see on this slide that many millions of people are affected by this. 3.66 million people, or households, sorry. So if you times that by 2, 3, 4 people, you can see it's, you know, we're talking of tens of millions of people that are living with fuel poverty. In fact, 16% of all households, and we think that these numbers will have risen substantially because of COVID. I will talk about COVID and its effects on fuel poverty in a minute. One of the main issues around fuel poverty is how, if people are living in cold or damp or cold and damp homes, their health can be seriously affected. So we're looking for a comfortable indoor temperature of around 21 degrees for everyone, really. Around 18 degrees is the recommended minimum temperature for night times. Under 16 degrees, we're looking at resistance being diminished to respiratory diseases. If our homes are down to sort of 9 to 12 degrees and we're exposed to that for more than 2 hours, our core body temperature can drop, our blood pressure can rise, and there's an increased risk of cardiovascular disease. If we get down to 5 degrees or below, there's a real risk of hypothermia. So how does a cold home affect health? If we're living in a cold home, our stress, anxiety, depression, our mental health in general can be made much worse. If we've got children, there can be a negative impact on their development. We see increased recovery time from serious illnesses and often longer hospital stays are required. And we see people making eat or heat decisions. And then, of course, if we've got a poor diet, poor nutrition, our immune systems are affected. And we particularly see mums that aren't eating so they can feed their kids, skipping meals and so on. All of this leads to what we call the excess winter deaths. Last winter, without COVID, 2018 to 19, there's an estimated 23,200 excess winter deaths in England and Wales. These are people that are losing their lives because they're exposed to cold, which is making them ill. Respiratory disease is the leading cause of excess winter deaths. So by that, we're talking about things like flu, people that maybe got asthma or COPD, emphysema, so on, chest infections, and these things just get worse because of the cold weather and because of being exposed to the winter weather and cold homes. The year before this, when we had the first beast from the east, there was over 40,000 deaths. So you can see people living in cold homes has a real direct influence on people's health. And COVID-19, there's an estimated or more than 200,000 households in fuel poverty than there were before. And we've got an increased risk at the moment because people are at home, either working at home or because of the stay-at-home orders, we're at home in our houses more. So, you know, we have got the heating on more, we have got lights on more, we've got more things plugged in, TVs running and so on. Especially for families, there's a lot more fuel being used. And we're expecting to see over the next month or so, people really having a bit of a shock with the amount of their bills go up because of usage. But also there's going to be an issue because there's a cap on fuel bills, which has been there for 2 or 3 years now, and it's being lifted at the end of March. So we expect to see bills rising by about 20% in April. And of course, COVID-19 has health implications. as well. If somebody's living in a cold home, there's evidence of increased susceptibility to COVID, increased risk of severe symptoms if people do catch it, and slower recovery from those returning from hospital. And I'm sure you will have all heard about the fact that we're all in the same storm with COVID, but we're not in the same boat. And there's lots of information now that's pointing towards people that live in more deprived areas, people that are more vulnerable, are suffering more from COVID-19 than people that are perhaps able to keep themselves safe and warm in a better quality house, or have got a higher income. So every time we hear on the radio or in the news about people from deprived backgrounds, we're just thinking of people that are on a low income. And we're seeing a huge amount of people that just aren't managing because they've been furloughed and they've lost 20% of their income. That means they just can't afford to pay everything, but they could afford to pay before. And people that haven't had a claiming footprint before, that don't know how to manage within the system. When you're thinking about fuel poverty, it's not obvious, and key to this is frontline workers spotting people and referring them in for help. Means tested benefits leave out 40% of fuel poor. So there's often, at the moment, it's people that are furloughed that are perhaps struggling, but people that are on 0 hours contracts and so on, people that are just on low wages are really struggling. And the type of fuel that people have as well, as I mentioned before, can really make a difference to their fuel costs. So what do? We go around and we do this sort of training. Obviously, it's a lot more in depth usually, and we're just skimming the surface of it really in this talk today to make you aware of what's going on. We've been doing this type of work for many years now, but since COVID, we've shifted from in-home visits to telephone visits. This seems to be working really well. We do have a few exceptions where somebody maybe hasn't got a phone or really can't manage on the phone to give us the information we need. So we are still doing some visits, but most of our work, like 99% of it, is on the phone. And we talk to people, giving them energy saving hints and tips and advice, helping them with grants like the lady I was talking about earlier. We helped with her Green Homes grant. We help people or point them towards debt management, making sure they're on the right benefits. The lady I spoke to this morning, she's 75, she's not claiming any benefits because she felt like she was a scrounger, and it was helping her to see that she'd worked all her life, and her husband, before he'd passed away, had worked all his life, and they've paid into the system, and she's entitled to get a pension and some other benefits, and helping people to see what they're entitled to and helping them with that. So that's the kind of thing that we do. We help people to switch, which can literally knock off hundreds of pounds off the bill. If people don't want to switch, we can help make sure they're on the right tariff. If people are self-disconnecting because they can't afford to put money in their meter, we have got some funding where we can help people to get some credit for their gas electricity meters. That is very much area dependent on whether we've got that funding or not, but we'll do our best with that. We help people to understand about the priority service register and sign up for that if they're entitled to be on there, and that makes sure they get help with the things that you can see listed there in terms of gas, electricity, and the water one is really important to sign up to as well. We help people claim their warm homes discount. Most of these schemes are closed now because they only run for a small amount of time, but we help people to make sure, like now we'll be directing them towards signing up, getting signed up in September when they reopen. So what can we help with? So we can give people tariff advice to help them get the best energy deal. We can help them get the warm homes discount if they're entitled to it, problem solving with their energy companies, help them with damp and other behaviour issues in terms of their home energy management. Help with budget management. We're not debt advisors, but we can refer people over to debt management agencies, I guess. Help people if they're in poor quality housing with issues that they've got, with meter readings, getting on the priority service register, using their heating, hot water controls, using night storage heaters correctly, and making their homes more energy efficient. And we work with people that are maybe older, people with long-term health conditions, people that are at risk of stroke, heart attack, respiratory illness, people returning from hospital, all of the things that you can see on that list. But we are also obviously an environmental organisation. I think I'm tripping up my words more than usual, Lisa, because I know you're recorded. So we're an environmental charity, so we are very interested in helping people to reduce their carbon footprint. So we don't turn away people that might just want some advice around energy saving and making their homes more fuel efficient as well. We're more than happy to give advice for that, even if someone doesn't fit into one of these categories, because saving carbon, becoming zero carbon by 2030 is, you know, really, really important. And these are a couple of slides here about how people can refer in. So there's various ways. People can just call us, they can send us an email, and we've got an online referral form as well. So we try to get to people within a couple of days when we get a referral in. It's not always possible because people won't pick up their phones or don't pick up their phones. If we drop people a text, it makes them more likely to pick up the phones, but we do our best to get to people within a couple of days if we can. We have some marketing materials that we're able to share electronically, but also with the postcards there, we send them out to people, so you can leave them in your kind of waiting areas with leaflets, or if you're at a food bank, it's quite useful for them to go in the bags and go out with people and that kind of thing. So if you wanted some of those cards, get in touch with Lisa with an address for me to post them to. We also do small energy measures for people. So this could be things like light bulbs or radiator reflector panels, draft excluders and so on, that we post out to people if they need them. So chess does have the potential to change life for the better. And we've been going at this for about 4 months now. And we're already seeing case studies where it's really having a great impact on people's lives. One of the things I haven't mentioned is we do have a debt relief pot. So if people have got fuel debt up to £500 and they meet the criteria, we're able to provide them with debt relief. And also if they're in a rural location, they've got oil heating and they can't afford to fill their oil tank up, we can help with that as well, again, if they meet the eligible criteria. But we do need people like yourselves to make this project happen. We're relying on people who are in the communities of North Cambridgeshire to get the message out about this, put us in touch with community groups, other councillors, anyone really that has contact with people in their communities, so we can give them the full training sessions. To say this is very much a small part of it, although everything that I've covered in here is covered in the training that I do. It just goes into greater depth. And then to get people, referring people into this so we can give them the help and support that they need. Okay, has anyone got any questions? I feel like, because I've compressed like an hour and a half down to 20 minutes, that I've spoke very quickly, and hopefully you've got a really good idea of the sort of thing that we're doing from that, and we'll be able to work together in the future, providing some help for the people that live in your parishes. Any questions?
Not so much a question, Karen, more of an observation. You mentioned about the older generation and their reluctance to seek help even when it's available. That's a huge issue for us. We have people in our excuse me, in our communities who we know are struggling, but we can't engage with them. We just cannot, you know, they're from that that wartime generation. I'm all right. Don't worry about me. And it's I don't know what the solution is on that one, really.
I think one of the things that I say in the training as well is, you know, sometimes people are asset rich and cash poor.
Yeah.
And I've been in several homes where I've given advice to an older person. They've been referred in by a support worker or someone. And they're sat in a room with no heating on, with, you know, a hat and a hot water bottle and stuff. And you can see that they've got a lovely family around them with pictures of them. And you say, oh, what does your family think? They say, oh, no, they don't know about it. When they come around, I put the heating on. I don't want them to know that I'm struggling. Don't want to be a worry, don't want to be a burden. And it is difficult. I mean, I think it's just trying to reassure people that they're not a burden, but you can't make people do stuff if they don't want to. It's difficult, isn't it? I mean, the lady I spoke to this morning, I said to her, well, they take several £100s off me every month for my national insurance and tax. And when I retire in 10 years' time, I'm damn sure I'm going to get all the benefits that I'm entitled to, because I've been paying them hundreds of pounds for years. And she's like, oh, I never really thought about it like that. So it's just, you know, that kind of thing. And I think one of the things that really helps with any sort of behaviour change is giving examples of what other people do. So there's this person that does this, might make them think, oh, it's okay for me to do it. So most people of your age would be doing this or that, and that's fine to do that, you know, or what that situation is. So giving case studies, really. Caroline?
Problem for somewhere like Buckden is that I don't know that we would be able to identify the people who are in need of your service. So I suppose it's about trying to get some publicity out there, because, you know, it's basically a large affluent village, but there must, you know, there are pockets of poverty.
Yeah, you'll be surprised how many there actually are.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I've been to Buckden, and your hall there is lovely. And as I say, I could set up in the lobby there when you know it's a busy day, give people information, put posters up. The posters that Lisa will send afterwards, if you could print those out and put them up in the shop windows, the village hall. I'm sure you must have notice boards around the village as well, just so that people see it. It's quite useful as well if you could get the schools to just things like getting some leaflets in school bags being sent home to parents. So maybe that children and families are struggling, but they might have older people that they know that are struggling as well, that they can get it out.
Can we get it in roundabout, Caroline?
We could put it in the roundabout, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I was just going to say parish newsletters.
Good point.
What I can do is we have sent out already round to parish councils a kind of a newsletter that something you could add to your newsletter, so a press release type thing. I could add that to the email I'll send you around this afternoon, and that might be something that you can use, and we can send photographs if you want to, you know, add a photograph to it to get people's attention to the article. So I'll add that to the information. Karen, Terry's asked, he said it's a great project, and a very similar question really is, how can we help spread the word?
Yeah. I think as well, you know, have you got any local radio stations that you could put me in touch with? I've done local radio in Peterborough for similar projects, but I don't know who the local radio hosts are and it goes out in your areas. I think Radio Cans, yeah, you see, I've done work with Radio Cans, but not KLFM, so that's useful. Newsletters and so on. When we send out press releases, they do tend to go out to all of the standard press, and I think Lisa's got a list of the parish newsletters, but sometimes there's other ones that we don't know about that might be something that somebody creates locally and pops through. And just think about printing out the leaflets and going out one day and putting them up everywhere, where, you know, your local fish and chip shop, the library, the village hall, the notice boards, get posters up so people can see them.
Have websites as well, don't you? So maybe it's something that you can also put on your website and do a link to the PECT website and the referral forms there, so people could self-refer you know, if they're directed to your website with a link.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Kevin, you had your hand up.
I think Chris was before me, but
Oh, okay,
you go,
sorry,
Chris. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it sounds excellent. And I wondered, have you sent anything to the Gazette in Yaxley? Because there are a number of these local magazines around. Hampton have one as well, that put in all sorts of things like this. I mean, as a food bank, we would love to have some of your leaflets because we can put them in with the parcels. And I also thought perhaps some training when we can, perhaps jointly with the community fridge would be good. We could
Yeah, and we could organise a Zoom meeting with that. So I'm not sure if we have sent to the Yaxley Gazette. I think from the way Lisa wrote that down very quickly, we probably haven't.
No, we haven't. And my follow-up to that was going to be, if you've got a contact person, because what I found is sending out blanket information, it's good, it filters through sometimes, but if you've got a named contact, that really makes a difference.
Yeah.
So if you've got any contacts that you could put me in touch with for your local areas, I'd really very much appreciate that.
Because there's a new magazine around, the PE7,
Okay.
and that covers Hampton and Yaxley and well, the PE7 postcode area of Peterborough. So that's another one. That's
So for
only
Peterborough, it's Leap, but we work closely with Leap.
One,
So
yeah.
So if you want postcode cards or like physical ones sending out to you, or you've got any other information, do get in touch with Lisa with the address for me to post them to and how many you think you might need, and I can get those posted out.
I was just going to say it's one of these. How do you get people to admit that they need help at times? And it's the old thing. Sometimes they don't realise that they need the help that is available, and others don't know the help that is available either. And we've seen people that we know are desperate for food, and you take a food parcel round and they just about slam the door in your face because basically they don't
embarrassment,
want
isn't it?
Embarrassment and so on. And it's one thing we found with the fridge. Currently, it's a matter of they're using it as a community gathering to socially distance, have a chat with other people, and there's no stigma attached to this because it is just food that's going out. But we are seeing there is, I would say 50% of our people are possibly in the poverty range and need that. And we are seeing referrals also from the food bank to us as well to supplement what they're getting. And it's how you get these people to understand it. And that's why I came on with the idea of we could actually put a leaflet in with our food parcels, and the hope that they will take on board, and then it's if you keep on bombarding people, we can't identify them necessarily because sometimes they don't identify themselves. But if we keep on bombarding them and gifting them the access and the ways forward, then there's a possibility they might, I suppose it's the Alcoholics Anonymous. They won't go until they admit it themselves.
Absolutely.
But there is a lot out there, a lot of people trying to help, and it's a difficult one how you square that one. But we also in Yaxley have a welcome club and a well-being club that is for the over 60s, and they meet, and it might be something once COVID comes out and we can start having these back in the halls, it might be worth having a meeting and just sort of a short talk on what's happening. But that's the over 60s. But I think with this pandemic and how it's going to financially affect, it's going to be a number of years, and it's going to be younger families as well that are going to be impacted, and we've got to try and sort of help their exposure a little bit, but making sure people are aware what is out there, and help as best we can.
It would be great if we could do like the full hours training with your volunteers at the food banks and at the fridge and the other groups, because I think if your workers are aware of it, they're able to talk about it more easily. And it's great if you can then put leaflets in bags for people to take with them. But maybe, I know your setup, Kevin, is you have like the table outside, don't you? That, you know, the plastic frames that you can put up. And so you can maybe put a poster in there that says, have you got fuel debt? We can help. Just something with the headline like that.
We've got a notice board right outside, which
yeah,
we've got village notice boards, and we've got the parish council website and Facebook page.
Yeah. So pick out those headlines for people. But you're right, though. One of the things that I've noticed in the change in the way that we're working is we're working with many more families than older people, because I think the referrals we're getting in for frontline workers are people that are working with families. We used to go to things like dementia cafes, befriending clubs, and I'd give a little talk and give out some information, and some people have some advice, and you know, some people book in an appointment afterwards. And we don't seem to have as many of the older people that need help coming through. And I think that's because of the way, you know, we're just working more remotely. So I can't wait when you get those sessions up and running again. I'll be really happy to come along and talk to people and give them information.
Because certainly one of the things that and when COVID starts easing, so that we can actually unlock the fridge and give access in, what we're hoping, or aspirations at the moment, are that we could have coffee and tea as they go round, but we'd have tables so that they sit down, and on these tables will be a number of leaflets. We're getting them from HDC about refuse and what bin means, but also about financial help through paying the rates bills and so on like that. So these can be on the table, and it's surprising. Sometimes people pick it up and take more notice and go away thinking about it, but shall we say that's down the road? But if we don't,
we've got to try all the different ways that we can think of.
Terry has said in the chat that in Wisbeach they've got a very strong social media presence, and I think that's probably another good point to pick up on. That if I will put in how to follow Twitter, the PECT on Twitter, in the email round to everybody as well, because I think if you can follow and retweet some of PECT's emails, tweets, sorry, then
and there's a Facebook and Instagram as well that stuff goes on.
I'll put those in the email, and then, you know, by retweeting and sharing that information, again, it's highlighting it to your community through social media. So I think that will be helpful.
One of the things I didn't mention as well is we do have a number of leaflets and information in that isn't in English. So if you've got families that you're working with, I know in Wisbeach is a high number of people with Polish as a first language, for instance. We can help people with that, but we've also got some funding. If somebody needs an appointment with us, we can we'd like to get a family member or a volunteer that can speak the language and translate for us, but we are able to get a paid translator in if necessary. The only reason that I say I prefer to get a volunteer in or a family member is because we've got a limited amount of funds, so we want to stretch that money as far as we can, obviously. Has anyone else got any questions?
Terry said around 30% of the population in Wisbeach is Eastern European, and the Rosmini Centre in Wisbeach can help with translation. So that's
we've been in touch with the Rosmini Centre, and I think one of the things as well that we do find with foreign nationals is that they don't always understand how the systems here work. And, you know, from anything from what to do if you're sick to how to pay your electricity bill. So we can give some more basic information around that, which can help people as well.
Excellent. So are there any last burning questions that you've got?
Yeah, Terry, I agree. Some are also suspicious. That's right across the board, though.
Okay. Well, can I thank everybody for coming along to the session today, and I hope once you've got the email from us that this is information that you can share throughout your parish councils and local organisations that you're involved with as much as possible. And what I'll also do in the email is send you the link, so that if you come across anybody who is interested in volunteering, or you come across frontline workers who want to support the project, that they can sign up. And then all we ask volunteers to do is a short, it's about 1 hour, isn't it, Karen, your training session. To do the training session, then you're ready to go, really, in terms of referring people into the project, helping and supporting people and putting them in touch with us. From there, we do everything else. And the only thing that we ask from the volunteers is once a month, I will send you an email just to ask you what sort of activity you've been doing in the previous month, so that we can feed that back to the funders of the project.
And just, you know, just so I've transition groups, anyone else that you think might be interested in having this information, really happy to talk to anyone, really. And we're not limited to office hours. I'm really happy if there's a group that meets sort of an evening or a weekend to, you know, take part in that group as part of that meeting, rather than putting on something specially, if that works.
If there is any chance of leaflets for the fridge, again, the number that we get, I would say that we'd go through 100 in a week, but I would only put one in this week, and then a few weeks time put another lot in just as a reminder. But you know, it is, we could then try and get some on the notice boards around the village. I think there's about 14,
Lisa will send the electronic ones out, and then if you want some of the printed ones, let Lisa have the address and the number that you'd like, and I can get them posted out to you.
Well, I'm sure if you're sending any out to Chris, we can borrow some off of Chris.
Okay, brilliant.
Terry has asked, have we sent leaflets to libraries? We haven't sent leaflets to libraries at the moment, but it's certainly something we could investigate, whether there are opportunities to do that. And equally, if you have access to your local library and they're prepared to put a poster on the notice board there, you know, please feel free to go into your local libraries and ask them to.
I think the thing is with things like that is we are, you know, we're a small team, we're a dedicated team, but we're a small team, and we're working throughout the whole of Cambridgeshire, which is a massive county. So we're relying on people that are in the counties, you know, in the COVID hubs, the parish councillors, people that are parts of other groups and so on, to take this information and get it out for us, because we can do press releases and social media and stuff, but we know that for people, we need the people in those communities to be taking this on board and publicising it for us. So anything that you can do to help is brilliant, and really grateful for that.
Obviously, libraries and things aren't open yet.
They're not open at the moment, are they? Yeah.
But it'll be happening over the next few weeks, won't it? So if people can take that opportunity to get a post,
thanks, Terry.
That will be brilliant. Michael?
Yeah, have you tried doctor surgeries? Because the way the county council will work next year is through social prescribing.
Yeah, so we
and
work.
That would be an amazing.
Social, we've struggled historically to get doctor surgeries to actually listen to us, but since we've had social prescribers, we've done a lot of information, a lot of training with them, and they're getting the information out and referring people in. So that's working really well.
We've actually got about 4 social prescribers who have signed up to be volunteers for the scheme, and we have had quite a lot of referrals from them, haven't we, so far? So
absolutely, Terry. And the social prescribers are also trying to get it up on their you know, like the electronic screens in the doctor's surgery on there as well. Of course, I don't know what all the doctors are like, but mine at the moment, it's like a 1 in, 1 out. You do not get a chance to sit and look at a screen or anything like that at the moment. It's all so up in the air.
There is a social prescriber in the Yaxley surgery, I know. I don't know whether they've been contacted to be involved, but they do link with us in the food bank and for other initiatives as well.
Is that Carol? I'm just trying to.
Yes, it is. Yes.
Again, if you can put them in touch with us, that would be great, because it might be that they've received a blanket email from us, but not necessarily picked up on it because it's fallen in a day when they've had 30, 50 other emails. So if you could say, you know, as a personal recommendation, you've heard about this scheme, and pass them on information from me, then they're probably going to be more likely to come back to me.
Yeah. So for the Yaxley Facet area, it's Carol Gill. I've just noticed her card here. So yeah.
That's
So
actually ringing a bell. I think we might have spoken with her.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll send it on to you anyway, just so that at least you've got it, Carol Gill.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Thank
That
you,
would be
Kevin.
perfect. Thank you.
Thanks, Terry. Okay then, right. It's almost 3 o'clock, so I'm going to let you all get back to your busy lives. And it's been nice to meet you all. Nice to see you, Kevin.
And you.
And take care, everyone. And if you do have anything else that you think of, do get in touch and let us know.
And you'll get an email from me later on this afternoon with all the information in it, and I'll copy Karen in, so you'll have both of our contact details should you need to follow anything up with us. So
if Nicola needs any help with the march, I was most likely going to try and get over to see her sometime and see how that operation, but I've invited her over to have a look at ours, and because it's difficult right now as to how you operate it. And
absolutely.
But certainly give her some support, I would.
Okay, great. Thanks, Kevin. Right, thanks everyone.
Thanks, Karen. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you all.
Bye.
Bye.